And one more thing, if you still have questions about the educational system, just leave it in the comment section. And if you hate what we said, probably if you hate what we said, you probably didn't get this far. But if you did and you hate everything we said, also leave it in the comment section. Just leave your hate there. We're gonna read your comments. We really have fun reading the comments, especially the hateful ones. We really laugh so much reading it. So don't stop commenting. We are fine with it. We don't gonna cry, and you don't gonna stop us from moving back. So, hey everyone, I'm Christian.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is the Brito Family channel. Welcome to our channel and thank you for watching this video.
Today we will be talking about the educational system in Puerto Rico. Now, if you have yet to see our past videos, we did a video about the top 10 reasons or the 10 reasons why you should not move to Puerto Rico. And we mentioned about the educational system.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing this video because we have been receiving so many messages in the comment section of our videos talking about or asking us about the education system in Puerto Rico. Everyone that is moving there are very concerned about the education system, and it makes sense. If you have kids, you want to know if the system is good or not, what they should do, if the public education is good, private education is better, what is going on, and we are here to help. And I know we're gonna get so much hate from this video because we shared about it in a video like a year ago, and everyone was wanting to kill us in the comment, but it is the truth.
Yes, and the thing is, a lot of the comments from our first video about Puerto Rico, a lot of those people we realized never looked into the other videos we posted after that. So if they did actually listen to what we were saying, my husband is Puerto Rican, born and raised. We lived there together as a married couple a few years back, and we're moving there again this year. So we will be sharing with you some helpful insights from someone who is a native Boricua and has been enrolled in both public and private school and the universities.
The first thing that I want us to address is that in that video that we made about the 10 reasons why you should not move to Puerto Rico, we said that the educational system in Puerto Rico has about $3.5 billion just for education, but that's wrong. It is not 3.5 or 3.8. It is actually 5.6 billion with the B dollars for only education in Puerto Rico. And what is crazy is that $5.6 billion is more than 60 countries in the world. For the entire government, they have that amount or less to run the whole government, the whole island or the whole country with 5.6, and Puerto Rico has that only for education.
And the thing is, with this, to put it into perspective, our first video about Puerto Rico, why you shouldn't move there, highlighted the corruption effects on locals and expats. The reason for us to share this information is not so that people can go away from Puerto Rico, can leave, or like forget about moving to Puerto Rico. No, Puerto Rico is a wonderful place to raise children. It just depends on where you will be enrolling them.
Yeah, so like Nicole said, I went to private school, I went to public school, and I also went to public school that you need to pass a test to be able to enter. So you will enter, it's a public school, but you will enter that school only depending on the performance that you have in this test. And I will tell you something, public school is so much worse than private school. And that is only in my experience, but I also have talked to hundreds of people that went to private school and they also went to public school, and they also shared the same opinion. They think that the public school in Puerto Rico is really bad. And not just that, the teachers, a lot of time, they don't really feel comfortable teaching because they don't have supplies. The books that they have are outdated. They are really bad, in really bad shape. There are no AC in the classroom. The fans, the teachers have to buy it with their own money. Having, remember, $5.6 billion to help for the education.
Yes.
And the teachers have to buy the fans for the room, they have to buy the materials for the students. That is just ridiculous.
And before anyone goes out and says, oh, we don't know what we're saying, we have family who live in Puerto Rico who serve in the educational system. So we have family aunts who are teachers, and they've been teachers their entire life.
And the thing with that is that in the past it was bad, but now it's getting worse. And it doesn't make any sense because in the past there were a lot more students.
Yes.
The population in Puerto Rico, the kids, the people that have kids is a lot less now.
Yes.
There is a lot less kids in school.
And to put it into another perspective, there are more Puerto Ricans today living outside of Puerto Rico, the island, and they live in mainland. So a lot of the Puerto Ricans today have lived in the US for majority of their life, or they left like years ago and they have yet to go back. And a lot of people don't realize that we are young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't too long ago, my husband was still going to school at a university in Puerto Rico. So it's not like this information isn't old news or inaccurate. And we still have family in schools in Puerto Rico today.
Yeah, and like you said, there is so many more Puerto Ricans living outside of Puerto Rico than in Puerto Rico. And the crazy thing is that a lot of those people made that decision only because of the education.
Yes.
Because the education in Puerto Rico is not the best. So they made a decision for their kids to leave the island so the kids can have better education, they can be in a good place to educate themselves. And that is crazy because Puerto Rico, this is crazy. Puerto Rico was one of the top in education in the entire world.
Yes, so there's this interesting fact if you were to research about it, because there's a lot into it. But Singapore, back in the day, do you remember exactly what year?
No.
Singapore essentially got the educational system of Puerto Rico when Puerto Rico was at its height. And now, ironically and unfortunately, Puerto Rico is one of the lowest. And being in an area where there are opportunities and they do have access to better equip the teachers, the staff, and the children, it's just not being done. And obviously we all know, if you are aware of the world around you, it's because of corruption, and that's the sad truth of it all. So what we're trying to share with you is, if you're looking to move to Puerto Rico, please do your research beforehand. Don't just throw your child into any nearby school like you would in the States or in a different country. A lot of the expats we've met a few years back and now today who have children, a lot of them actually had their children be homeschooled, and then they were touring, networking, researching what private and public schools would be best suited for their children. Some of the families had to pull out their children mid-year or a few months in, put them into a different school, and then they did that a couple times maybe. It just depends. But just be aware, you will have to deal with the educational system because it is a heavy topic, not just for the locals, but for the expats as well.
Yeah, and like you said, it is crazy because now Singapore is one of the top in education in the world, and Puerto Rico is at the bottom. Like, it's not the lowest, but it's in the top 10 lowest educational systems in the world right now. We just remember, with $5.6 billion to be able to equip the teachers, like you said, and provide better education for the kids, pay better, because the teachers are getting paid horribly as well. It's not that they get paid well with that amount. No, the educational system in Puerto Rico is bad for the teachers as it is bad for the students. Like I said, the teachers have to be spending their own money from the little bit that they get paid to buy materials for the classroom, to be able to kind of like encourage the students a little bit more to pay attention. And all of it could be resolved if the government managed the money properly.
Yes, and this isn't to just say that every school is terrible. That's not true.
No.
There are some really good grade schools that are private or public, and they have many activities and opportunities to help enrich and educate and support the children. because the adults are aware of the lack of opportunity already in Puerto Rico. So there's a big bonus in that because a lot of the kids are receiving opportunities to help advance their future, and students here in the US are not receiving the same. So it's beautiful because the community is aware of the situations at hand, but they're taking initiative and they're doing things for the kids. So it's nice because, say, our family who are still, they have yet to go to university, they have opportunities to do shadow work, to learn a trade, or to just help equip them into a path for their university program, whatever it may be. There are a lot of programs being done, surprisingly and thankfully.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too is that when we shared that in that video many months ago, we said that the students in public school, they have to bring paper towel and toilet paper to the school because there is no paper towel for them to dry their hands after they are done washing their hands. There is no toilet paper for them to wipe their butt. And people were saying that we were crazy.
And that we're liars.
Yeah, that you guys are liars. You guys don't even know what you're talking about. That is so disrespectful. Go watch all of the videos that are going viral from students from Puerto Rico recording the whole infrastructure of the schools in Puerto Rico, recording in the bathrooms how there is no mirrors, how the toilets, the cubicles are closed they are locked.
Yeah, the students can't use the toilet because the plumbing system doesn't work.
The sinks don't even work. There is no water, running water, nothing. There is no paper towel, there is no toilet paper. And you guys were saying that we were crazy. It was like that when I was going to school. So how much worse it is now that, the school keeps decaying. Like, the infrastructure is getting worse and worse. There are videos of students recording in the classroom while it's raining. The water is leaking through the roof, all the way through the walls, and the classroom is getting flooded. And we were crazy when we were talking about how bad it is. It is horrible.
Yeah, so that's why it's so important. We just want to make sure as a parent, we don't have children, but as a parent, to emphasize the importance in doing your due diligence in where your children go to school. And if it's best that they be homeschooled, there's a large community out there of homeschooled children and a lot of extracurricular activities for children. So it's not like they're missing out because they're not enrolled at a school. Like, community alone is massive in Puerto Rico. So what more for children? It's huge. Just make sure, of course, you're in a community where you have access to that.
And I know there will be so many comments saying, yeah, but at least in Puerto Rico, there are no shootings in the schools. That is a complete different topic. And yes, thank Yahweh, thank to our Heavenly Father that there are no shootings in the school. That is probably the one thing that we can say is good about the school system in Puerto Rico, that there hasn't been any shootings. I hope that it never happens in Puerto Rico, and I hope it never happens again in any other school in the world. But that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the education in Puerto Rico and the whole system with the schools in Puerto Rico.
Not the crime or the safetiness of the place.
And by the way, I'm not saying that the private schools in Puerto Rico are perfect. I would say there is the same amount of probably illegal things happening in public school as it is in private. Like kids bringing drugs or anything like that to the public school, it happens is as often or even more in private school. Remember, the kids in private school have probably a lot more access to money to be able to purchase drugs or whatever and deal with drugs. So private school in Puerto Rico, you need to be very careful because there is a lot of drugs happening in those schools, a lot of sex as well in private school, also in public school. But you need to also understand that in private school, in most of them or all of them, you will need to be the one purchasing the books. The kids have to bring the books to school, bring it back home. That's how it is. In public school, obviously everything is provided. even though everything is in a really bad condition, bad shapes, and a lot of time, most of the books won't even be there anymore. Like, I remember going to school and all of the books are missing pages. There's like, it can be a hot mess. But the private schools, usually the infrastructure of the school is in so much better shape than the public school. And a lot of time you will have AC units in the classrooms, so the students are able to focus a lot more than when they are going to a public school where there is no AC units, there is no fans, there is like mosquitoes everywhere, they are just sweating and it's horrible. Plus, the teachers in private school gets paid better and they are more motivated to teach the students, and they can be a little bit more patient because their salary is a lot better than when they are going to public school, that the salary is horrible, plus they have to be dealing with very disrespectful students.
And the thing that Christian touched on regarding the drugs and the violence, a lot of people too mentioned in our past videos that we have no idea what we're talking about because Puerto Rico is so safe. But the reality is Puerto Rico is not a safe sanctuary. It's not. Nowhere in the world it is. And we know what happens with crime, and especially with the drugs, because it is a prevalent crime that happens there. We have family who have served and are currently serving in law enforcement. So we're not unaware or doing research and just making things up because we want to bad talk Puerto Rico. No, we love Puerto Rico. We enjoy living there. But we need to face the reality, and so we need to not just be like, okay, we're moving to an island. We can just be relaxed. You know, if you're moving from a high crime state or a high crime city, we still need to have our guards up.
And one thing that you need to be very careful is that there is public transportation to go to school, right? There is a bus that will pick you up and will take you to school, and then it will drop you off back at the house or whatever, right? If your kid is going to do that, you need to be very careful, because the sons and the daughters of the bichotes, which is pretty much the drug lords, most of the time, the kids of those people go to public school a lot of time. And when I was going to school, there was a drug lord in the city that I was living in that 3 of his kids were going to the same school that I was going, and 1 was going to the school next to us. And that person was in so much trouble in the streets with other drug lords around the whole city that they were threatening to actually shoot the buses because they were not able to find the guy, they were not able to find the drug lord that they were looking for. But they knew that the kids of this guy, they were always going in public transportation. So for almost a month or 2 months, the police had to escort the buses all the way through the whole route that they were taking, because it was pretty much for sure that they were gonna be shooting this bus. And it was crazy because the only kids in that bus were those kids, because everyone else was scared to get in the bus.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, wait, what? They're gonna shoot the bus? I'm not getting in it. So they were having to wait for their parents to pick them up almost like 2 hours later after school was done, because they were not willing to go in the bus. And only the people in the bus were the 3 kids that were going to the public school from the sons of this drug lord. And it was just crazy. You just need to be very wise, very careful, because you never know who is jumping in that bus with your kids.
And if you're concerned about colleges or universities in Puerto Rico because you have children who are going to be graduating high school soon, there are wonderful universities everywhere on the island, and they've been there for many years. And this is a known fact that there are a lot of Puerto Rican graduates who are well educated, and they either go to school their whole life in Puerto Rico and move on to a different country or just the mainland, or they establish their career and business on the island itself. Just know that there are limited programs available. So just know there won't be like 50 different programs your child can choose from. There will be a select few, just because that's how it's always been. But if there is one that your child is interested in, definitely know that it will be a great program.
Yeah. The other thing is that you need to understand that I don't know if there is any university in Puerto Rico that will teach only in English.
Okay.
So if your kid doesn't know any Spanish, I mean, maybe the books might be in English sometimes, but the university, the teachers are gonna just teach in Spanish. So if your kid doesn't know any Spanish, you're gonna have a horrible time. And I'm pretty sure there are probably some universities that are straight up in English. I don't know. I have no idea about that. You will need to do your own research on that. And but one more thing that I want to add to it, with the public school for kids and even private, a lot of time it will be straight up Spanish. You know, there are gonna be some private school that are bilingual. And for example, that public school that I went to, that I had to take a test to be able to enter, it was a bilingual school. It was public, it was bilingual. The books were all in English, but a lot of time the whole class was in Spanish. Like the only time that we would read something in English is when obviously when we are going into the book. But a lot of time the teachers were just kind of like, you know, lazy. They didn't want to go into like speaking English all the time. So it was always in Spanish pretty much. The private school that I went to, it was bilingual as well. And that one was mostly English, almost everything. So yeah, you're gonna have options to take your kid to a public school that speak English if it's like the one that I went to, or private school that will speak English as well. But if it's a straight up public, no test that you need to take to enter or anything like that, be 100% sure that it's gonna be straight up in Spanish, except for English class. That sometimes the teachers, sometimes the teachers will speak everything in English, and sometimes they don't even care and they just speak Spanish most of the class, and they just teach whatever material in English, but everything else will be in Spanish. So if that is something that you are concerned about, because I don't know, you want your kid to just learn English all the time or whatever, like be studying in English, you're gonna have a difficult time.
And before we end this video, there's just another topic that we want to touch. If your child plays baseball, of course, there are many major league baseball players today, and Puerto Rico has been known to produce the best players in the league.
Wait, be careful, because if the Dominicans listen to this, they're gonna cry about that. But it's the truth. I'm sorry about that, but go ahead.
But for those that don't know, Christian used to play for Seattle Mariners. And so he will shed some light on the opportunities and support for children who are pursuing baseball for future term.
Yeah, so there are few academies in Puerto Rico that are focusing in developing baseball players. And I never went to them. I never assist to those academies. I had a scholarship to go to those academies, and I declined the option because one, it was pretty far from where I was living, and two, because I didn't care for it. I knew that I was able to make it without having to go through that system. But from what I understand, the academies, the baseball academies in Puerto Rico, they actually have a really good educational system as well. Before, that a complaint was that the educational system in those academies were not as good, that they focused too much on baseball, but the academy part was kind of like easy for them to just graduate and be able to get a great grades, you know, and enter to good college or whatever. But that was it. But apparently, from what I understand, the educational system in those academies have been developing, you know, they have been doing a better job. And there are many baseball players that have come out from there. Like Carlos Correa came out from one of them. Yesmuel Valentin came from one of them. There are so many different baseball players that have been coming out from those academies, which if it's something that you want your kid to be playing baseball at the same time that they are being educated, you can look into that. But obviously the recommendation is to move closer to those academies, because you're gonna get in so much horrible traffic
Yes.
in the morning to be able to get to those places. Then you're gonna tell the kid, you know what? You're just gonna go to a public school, you're gonna get the bus, I'm not even gonna take you anymore because the traffic can get horrible in the morning.
Well, that is all for today. We hope that this information was helpful and maybe you got some additional pointers that you weren't even thinking about, and maybe now you know which school to look into if your son plays baseball. So we'll see you in the next video. We plan to post some in the near future. We don't really post weekly or on a monthly basis. So we'd appreciate if you would just like, subscribe, and comment down below anything that's on your mind. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.